The first light of dawn crept into my modest downtown apartment, gently rousing me from my restless slumber. I stretched slowly, trying to absorb every last drop of energy I needed to face another challenging day. Next to me, my 8-year-old son Joseph was still sleeping peacefully, a serene contrast to the bustling city outside our window. December had arrived, and while the city was wrapped in its Christmas splendor, my thoughts were consumed by my sister Anna. From our childhood, Anna had always played the role of the perfect daughter, meeting our parents' expectations, while looking down on my free-spirited nature with contempt. She had graduated from a prestigious university and married Austin, the CEO of a major auto parts manufacturer, living a life of elegant luxury that seemed worlds apart from mine. I carefully rose from the bed, not wanting to wake Joseph, and made my way to our tiny kitchen. As I started preparing breakfast, the aroma of fresh coffee filled our small space, offering a comforting embrace against the cold morning air. I heard Joseph's sleepy footsteps behind me, and when I turned, I welcomed him with a warm smile and open arms. "Good morning, my precious one," I said softly, my heart swelling with love for my beautiful boy. "Did you sleep well?" I asked while preparing our simple breakfast, toast with a pat of butter and a fresh pot of coffee. Joseph rubbed his eyes and returned my smile, his innocent face brightening the room more than any morning sun could. "Morning, Mom. I slept good. How are you feeling today?" "Oh, my sweet, perceptive child. So young, yet so attuned to when things weren't quite right." I took a deep breath, forcing brightness into my voice as I spoke. "I'm fine, Joseph. I'm going to look for a new job today. While you're at school, I'll see if I can find something that will bring us a bit more stability. Don't worry, my little cuddle bug. Everything will work out." Since losing my cleaning job last week, our financial situation had become even more precarious. I gently ruffled his hair, and he looked up at me with eyes full of love and admiration that nearly broke my heart. "You'll find something, Mom," he declared with unwavering faith that made my chest tight with emotion. "You're the strongest, most amazing person I know. I'll be cheering for you from school." His words warmed my heart, giving me the strength I needed to face another challenging day in our ongoing struggle. After breakfast, I helped Joseph prepare for school, making sure he was bundled up warmly enough for the chilly day outside. "Remember to take the right bus and come straight home after school, okay? I'll be waiting here for you," I reminded him as I walked him to the door, my heart already aching at our temporary separation. "I know, Mom. I've got it all memorized. Good luck with the job hunting. I know you'll find something, I just know it." "I love you," he said, planting a quick kiss on my cheek before hurrying off to the bus stop. I stood at the door for a moment, watching as my precious boy made his way down the street toward the public school. As his small figure grew more distant, my heart filled with a bittersweet mixture of pride and worry that seemed to be my constant companion these days. The weight of being solely responsible for his well-being pressed heavily on my shoulders, but Joseph's determination gave me the courage to keep moving forward. No matter how rough the road ahead might become, I refused to give up. Back inside, I gathered my few belongings and dressed in my simple but clean clothes, preparing to face the day and its potential job opportunities. Before leaving, I checked my reflection one last time in the cracked hallway mirror, pulling my hair up into a neat bun. Taking a deep breath, I closed the door behind me and stepped out into the world with renewed hope in my heart. If I couldn't find a job before Christmas, I wouldn't even be able to buy Joseph a present. The thought sent a sharp pain through my chest. I knew it would be a long day ahead, filled with knocking on doors and facing likely rejection after rejection. But the memory of Joseph's strength, his smile, and his words of encouragement gave me the courage I desperately needed. "I'll face anything for him," I whispered as I left our apartment building. Walking along the familiar path to the local market, I counted the meager change I had for necessities. The morning air still held the chill of dawn, and the streets were already pulsing with their usual hurried rhythm. As I walked through the market, I reviewed my list of essential items we needed. With our limited funds, I knew we needed bread. Some vegetables too. And if the price was right, maybe a small amount of chicken. I felt the weight of the coins in my pocket, each one counted and designated for a specific purpose. Upon reaching the market, I headed straight for the stalls with the best prices. I had a talent for picking out the freshest produce and calculating costs in my head, adjusting my selections to fit within our tight budget. The checkout line wasn't particularly long, but to me, it felt like an eternity. I was eager to finish shopping and continue my job search. That's when I noticed an unexpected figure standing behind me in line, my sister's husband, Austin. He stood there in an elegant suit that contrasted sharply with my modest attire, a living reminder of the vast divide between our worlds. His shopping basket was filled with far more items than mine, and the difference struck me immediately with painful clarity. With an exaggerated gesture of politeness and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, he motioned for me to go ahead. "Please, go first, dear sister-in-law. Your basket is so modest compared to mine," he said, his words dripping with barely concealed contempt. The unexpected courtesy caught me off guard, and I nodded slightly as I moved forward, my cheeks burning with a mixture of gratitude and humiliation. This chance encounter with my sister's husband made me acutely aware of the stark contrast between our lives in a way I had never felt before. As the cashier began scanning my items, each beep of the register seemed to echo my increasing heartbeat. The total kept climbing, and when the cashier announced the final amount, my heart sank to the depths of my stomach. "Your total comes to this amount, ma'am. How would you like to pay?" I froze, my blood turning to ice in my veins as the horrible realization hit me. My calculations had been wrong, the total was slightly higher than I had anticipated, and it was more than I could afford. "There must be some mistake," I managed to say, struggling to keep my voice steady while panic clawed at my throat. I mentally reviewed my list and recounted my money, my fingers trembling slightly. I counted my money before coming here. "It should have been enough," I continued, my voice betraying the anxiety that threatened to overwhelm me. I began desperately searching my pockets for any stray coins, but with each movement, my hope dwindled further. The cashier waited, her eyes reflecting a mix of sympathy and growing impatience. The line behind me grew longer, and I could feel the weight of strangers' stares on my back. Austin watched the entire scene unfold with a cold, calculating expression. I heard him murmur, just as Anna said, and his words cut through me like a knife. For a moment, the busy market seemed to fall silent, and I felt as if every eye was focused on my financial predicament. With trembling hands, I carefully laid out each coin on the counter, counting them one by one. With each cent I counted, my hopes diminished until the unavoidable truth stared me in the face: I didn't have enough money. The silence that followed was broken only by the soft clink of coins against each other, each sound a painful reminder of my precarious situation. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the cashier said, her voice carrying the finality of a judge's gavel. "Without sufficient funds, I cannot let you take these items." That's when Austin suddenly intervened. "I'll pay for her items," he declared in an icy tone, handing his card to the cashier. "No need to thank me. Actually, I was planning to invite you to a Christmas party," he said with a meaningful smile, pulling an invitation from his pocket. "Next Saturday is my company's Christmas party. Do bring Joseph along," he said, his words carrying an unmistakable undertone of calculated intent. It seemed as though he was deriving some perverse pleasure from my desperate situation. But I hesitated, and Austin practically thrust the invitation into my hands. "Anna is looking forward to seeing you," he said with a smile that didn't match his cold eyes. The sarcasm in his words cut through me like a razor-sharp blade. I tried to respond, but Austin had already finished his purchases and was preparing to make a hasty exit. As our conversation continued, the scheming in his eyes became increasingly apparent. "She's been so concerned about how her little sister has been living," he added, each word laced with obvious contempt. I stared at the invitation, feeling the expensive paper between my fingers, a tangible reminder of a world far removed from my daily existence. "Are you sure it's all right for me to come?" I asked hesitantly, my voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," Austin smiled, his expression reminiscent of a cat toying with its prey. "Christmas is for family, isn't it? Besides, I want our other guests to meet someone as interesting as you." The way he emphasized interesting made my skin crawl. I felt like an exhibit being put on display. But then Joseph's face flashed in my mind, his innocent smile warming my heart even in memory. This could be a special Christmas for my son, I thought, pushing aside my pride and fears. "I'll come," I said with newfound determination, straightening my shoulders. "And can Joseph really come, too?" "Ah, yes, of course," Austin replied with that same unsettling smile. "He is Anna's nephew, after all," he added, brushing an invisible speck from his expensive suit sleeve. "Saturday next week, 7 p.m. sharp. Don't be late," he called over his shoulder as he strode away. With those final words, Austin disappeared into the market crowd, leaving me standing there with the weight of his invitation feeling like lead in my hands. I stared at the invitation in my hands, a storm of conflicting emotions washing over me. Was this truly an opportunity, or was it a carefully laid trap waiting to spring? Yet, if I declined this invitation, I would be playing right into Anna's hands, confirming every low expectation she had of me. I took a deep breath, steeling my resolve with newfound determination. "I'll go," I whispered to myself, my voice growing stronger with each word. "I'll show Anna and Austin that we're doing just fine, that we're stronger than they think." Clutching my shopping bags, I began the journey home, my mind racing with all the things I needed to tell Joseph tonight. As I left the market, the invitation in my pocket seemed to weigh heavier with each step. It was both a burden and a symbol of defiance against Anna's lifelong contempt. Austin's hidden agenda was crystal clear, yet something inside me pushed me forward, urging me to face this challenge. Can I really handle this? I questioned myself, my heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation of the unknown. The city streets were adorned with Christmas decorations, a festival of lights and colors everywhere I looked. But now, even this familiar holiday scene seemed different, tainted by the weight of what lay ahead. Thoughts of the invitation brought back vivid memories of Anna's cold, judgmental stares. Since childhood, she had looked down on me, treating me like a foolish little sister who could never meet our parents' expectations. "This time, I'll show them something different," I muttered under my breath, clenching my fists with determination. When I reached home, I heard Joseph's familiar footsteps announcing his return. That beloved sound warmed my heart, reminding me why I never gave up, why I kept fighting every single day. "Mom," he called out, running toward me with open arms. His tight embrace seemed to melt away all my anxieties, if only for a moment. "How was school today, sweetheart?" I asked while preparing lunch in the kitchen with the groceries Austin had paid for. "Really great." The teacher praised my math test. "Did you find a job, Mom?" Looking into his innocent eyes, I let out a deep sigh. I didn't find a job, but something unexpected happened today. Slowly, I began to tell him about my encounter with Austin at the market and the invitation to the Christmas party. I watched as Joseph's eyes lit up with excitement at the mention of the party. "Uncle Austin and Aunt Anna's party," he exclaimed, his voice filled with childlike wonder. Looking at his innocent face, I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. "Sweetie," I began gently, choosing my words with care, "I think it's better if I go to this party alone." The disappointment in his eyes was like a knife to my heart, but I knew I had to protect him from what might await at that party. "But I have something even more special planned," I continued, forcing a bright smile. "On Christmas Eve, December 24th, you and I are going to have our very own celebration, just the two of us." "Really?" His face began to brighten again. "Yes, really. We'll decorate our own little tree, make Christmas cookies, and have the most wonderful time together," I promised, my heart warming at his returning smile. "And maybe Santa will even find his way to our apartment this year." The way his eyes sparkled at that possibility made me determined to somehow make this Christmas special for him, no matter what happened at Austin's party. "It'll be our secret Christmas party," I whispered conspiratorially, "much better than any fancy gathering." "Promise?" he asked, holding out his pinky finger. "I promise," I replied, linking my pinky with his, sealing a vow I was determined to keep. Deep down, I knew this was the right decision, to face whatever trap Austin and Anna had set without exposing Joseph to their potential cruelty. And more importantly, to create a Christmas memory that would truly matter to both of us. I wonder what kind of wonderful party Uncle Austin and Aunt Anna will have. Joseph's eyes sparkled with anticipation. His pure enthusiasm brought a bittersweet smile to my face as he exclaimed, "Mom, something good is bound to happen." "But honey, Aunt Anna and I haven't spoken in such a long time." I began hesitantly. "That's exactly why you should go." Joseph persisted with the innocent wisdom of a child. "Isn't Christmas for family? I'm sure Aunt Anna wants to see you too." His naive words squeezed my heart, reminding me of all the complicated history he couldn't understand. "I don't even have anything suitable to wear," I voiced my concern aloud. Without missing a beat, Joseph stood up from the table with determination and pulled me toward the bedroom. "Let's look through your closet. I'm sure we'll find something perfect." His positive attitude gave me a small spark of courage I hadn't expected to find. "Let's check all of Mom's clothes," Joseph said eagerly as we stood before the narrow closet. As we carefully examined each piece, I discovered the blue dress I had worn to my wedding. Though it had been packed away for years, it somehow still retained its beautiful luster. "This is it, Mom." Joseph's eyes lit up with excitement. "Aunt Anna will be amazed when she sees you in this dress." His words stirred complex emotions within me. I wondered what expression Anna had worn the last time she saw me in this dress. Surely, it had been one of her signature looks of disdain. But this time would be different. I held the dress against my body in front of the mirror, taking a deep breath. Taking the invitation in hand, I checked the details once more. December 23rd, 7 p.m. The Christmas party hosted by Mr. Austin Davis, with the name of the luxury hotel gleaming in gold letters. Later that night, as I lay in bed, my mind raced with thoughts of what was to come. The reunion with Anna, her cold stares, Austin's hidden agenda, everything filled me with anxiety. Yet Joseph's innocent expectations pushed me forward, giving me strength. "Maybe," I thought as sleep began to overtake me, "something really will change." With that hope in my heart, I drifted off to sleep. And finally, the day of the party arrived. The winter twilight descended early, and the city was adorned with Christmas illuminations that sparkled like countless stars. Standing before the mirror, I slipped into the blue dress, my hands trembling slightly with anticipation. "Mom, you look absolutely stunning," Joseph exclaimed with such genuine enthusiasm that my heart swelled. His pure admiration gave me a small spark of confidence I desperately needed. "Aunt Anna will be so surprised," he said, and I couldn't help but give a wry smile. I knew my sister would probably look down her nose at my dress, but at that moment, I found I didn't care anymore. "I'm heading out," I said, turning back at the doorway, and Joseph nodded with unwavering conviction. "You'll be fine, Mom. Everything will work out perfectly." His eyes, filled with complete trust, gave me the courage I needed to face what lay ahead. I called a taxi and gave the address of the luxury hotel, noticing the driver's slight look of surprise before he nodded silently. Outside the car window, the Christmas cityscape glowed with a magical radiance that seemed to mirror my determination. "Well, dear sister," I thought to myself, my resolve growing stronger with each passing moment, "tonight won't go quite the way you planned." With that defiant thought burning in my heart, I headed toward the party venue, ready to face whatever challenges awaited me. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years, I felt truly ready to stand my ground. Each mile that brought me closer to the hotel seemed to strengthen my resolve rather than weaken it. The familiar streets of our city, now transformed by the holiday magic, reminded me that transformation was possible, even for me.
In the luxurious hotel ballroom, Anna had become a willing accomplice in her husband Austin's carefully orchestrated plan. She glided through the crowd in her designer gown, every movement calculated and graceful as she engaged with the guests. "We have a very special guest joining us tonight," Anna announced with a smile that held secrets darker than the winter night outside. "My sister is coming. We've been estranged for years, but my husband was kind enough to invite her," she added, her words dripping with barely concealed mockery. From across the room, Austin watched with satisfaction as his wife performed her part to perfection. "How wonderful that your sister will be joining us," a prominent businessman remarked politely. "Yes," Anna replied with practiced elegance, "though I wouldn't get your hopes up. She's not quite from our world, you see." Her words drew subtle laughter from those around her, the kind that echoes through country club dining rooms. Austin was giving final instructions to the doorman, his voice carrying the authority of a man accustomed to being obeyed. "Alert me the moment she arrives," he commanded. "Yes, sir," the doorman responded with rehearsed deference. Anna and Austin stood watching the elevator lobby like theater critics awaiting the opening act of a production they'd already decided to pan. "Do you think she'll actually come?" Anna murmured, swirling her champagne with practiced sophistication. "Without a doubt," Austin replied, his voice carrying the confidence of a man who knew he held all the cards. "Your sister's pride won't allow her to decline this invitation." Their conversation crackled with the cruel anticipation of what was to come, like predators discussing their trap. The party was in full swing beneath the crystal chandeliers, but the real show hadn't even begun. Anna raised her $1,000 champagne flute to her perfectly painted lips, taking a deliberate sip. "Everyone will see just how out of place she is in our world," she declared with quiet satisfaction. Austin nodded in agreement, his expression matching his wife's smug certainty. They stood there like hunters who had laid the perfect snare, waiting patiently for their prey to walk right into it.
As the taxi wound its way through the snowy streets, I found myself mesmerized by the Christmas illuminations. My sister Anna had always loved Christmas since we were children. Yet she had always looked at my gifts with thinly veiled contempt. Almost there, I whispered to myself, trying to steady my nerves. "Tonight, Anna, I'll show you that I too can find happiness." When the taxi pulled up to the luxury hotel, I was nearly overwhelmed by its imposing grandeur. Standing at the entrance with its towering marble columns, I took a deep breath, trying to gather my courage. The doorman was watching me, his stern expression studying me intently, as if I were an exhibit in a museum. "Ms. Riley Williams?" he inquired, and I couldn't hide my surprise. "Yes, that's right, but how did you know?" "Mr. Davis informed us you would be a special guest tonight," he replied, and something in the way he emphasized of special sent a chill down my spine. As I stepped into the elevator, my reflection caught my eye in the mirror. The blue dress was beautiful, yes, but perhaps out of place among all this luxury. But that's okay, I reassured myself, squaring my shoulders. When the elevator doors opened, it was like stepping into another world entirely. The sparkle of chandeliers, amber-colored champagne, and the refined murmur of sophisticated conversation surrounded me. And then there were the stairs, so many stairs directed my way. "Is that Anna's sister?" "The one Austin invited." I could hear the whispers floating around me, like autumn leaves. I straightened my spine and made my way to the bar counter, thinking perhaps a glass in my hand would help steady my nerves. But more than that, I was searching for Anna's familiar face. And wondering about the true purpose behind this invitation. Where was Austin hiding? I carefully scanned the grand hall, taking in every detail. Well-dressed people chatted in front of an elaborate Christmas tree while others listened to the live piano music with practiced appreciation. With a champagne glass in hand, I circled the grand hall, searching for Austin and Anna. But they were nowhere to be found. Their presence felt like shadows, tangible yet just beyond my reach. Why did they invite me? The question grew larger in my mind with each passing moment. Yet I couldn't let Austin's absence consume my thoughts. I made a conscious effort to observe my surroundings, taking in every detail of this unfamiliar world. Groups of businessmen were engrossed in serious conversation, their voices low and purposeful. Women held their champagne glasses with practiced grace, their jewels catching the light. Ladies and gentlemen in elegant evening wear moved through the space as if they'd been born to it. Gradually, the initially intimidating atmosphere began to shift in my perception. Perhaps I could belong here after all, the thought crossed my mind unexpectedly. Despite the lavish decorations, there was a surprising warmth in people's conversations. Everyone seemed to be seeking new connections, trying to build bridges. Maybe I just need to be myself. This realization gave me a small surge of courage. I couldn't hide in the corners like a frightened child. I need to talk to someone. I took a deep breath, steeling my resolve. This step forward was a huge challenge for me, but it could be the beginning of something new. With that thought in mind, I began looking for an opportunity to join one of the conversation circles. I found myself stopping in front of a painting beside the Christmas tree. A woman stood quietly contemplating the oil painting, her posture suggesting genuine appreciation. Pushing aside my hesitation, I approached her. "Excuse me, but this painting is truly captivating, isn't it?" My voice came out steadier than I expected. The woman turned to me with a warm smile that immediately put me at ease. "Yes, it's a wonderful piece. One of my favorites, actually," she responded. Her friendly response helped the tension in my shoulders begin to melt away. "I'm Diane Brown," she introduced herself, with a warmth that seemed to melt away the formality of the evening. "Riley Williams," I replied, surprised at how naturally the conversation began to flow. Our discussion moved effortlessly from art to music, with Diane showing an approachability that seemed rare for someone in her position. "I run Brown Auto," she mentioned casually, her humility evident in her tone. I couldn't hide my surprise at hearing that name. Brown Auto? The nationwide luxury car dealership. "Yes, that's right," she smiled modestly. I found myself responding with unexpected honesty. "I actually visited one of your showrooms once. The cars were magnificent. Someday, I hoped." My voice trailed off, but Diane nodded with understanding that required no words. At that moment, several businessmen approached, drawn to our conversation. "Diane, who is this lovely young woman?" one of them inquired. My heart began to race slightly, but Diane's presence provided an unexpected anchor of comfort. "This is Riley Williams," Diane introduced me, and the businessman moved closer with genuine interest. She has some fascinating perspectives on art and market dynamics. Diane's words drew warm glances from those around us. "And just look at this dress, understated yet sophisticated." I felt my cheeks flush with warmth, amazed that this dress from my wedding day could receive such praise. The conversation naturally shifted to economics and business. Though I wasn't an expert, I decided to share my honest opinions based on personal experience. "I believe business is essential for our nation's growth," I ventured. "While many hold prejudices, there are countless people in business truly contributing to society." The businessman nodded approvingly at my candid words. "What an interesting perspective. You should join us at more of these gatherings. We'd love to exchange ideas with your company." Their words caught me off guard for a moment, causing a flutter of uncertainty in my stomach. They must have thought I was a successful businesswoman, someone who belonged in their world of high finance and corporate dealings. While the conversation flowed smoothly, an undercurrent of unease kept tugging at my consciousness. Austin was still nowhere to be seen, yet his presence loomed over me like a dark cloud. He alone knew what had happened at the market, knew the truth about who I really was. If they only knew the truth. The thought sent a chill down my spine. I could almost feel Anna's cold eyes watching me from somewhere in the crowd, calculating, judging. Yet running away wasn't an option. That would only confirm every dismissive thought my sister had ever had about me. Taking a deep breath, I steadied myself and continued the conversation, determined not to let my facade crack. The crystal champagne glass in my hand felt like both a shield and a reminder of how precarious my position was. Each word I spoke was carefully chosen, like walking on a tightrope stretched between two worlds, the one I came from and the one I was pretending to belong to. But somehow, the genuine interest these people showed in my opinions gave me a strange sort of strength. Perhaps I could maintain this delicate balance just a little longer, at least until I understood what game Austin was playing.
After spending time in a private room with Anna, Austin finally emerged into the main hall. The couple had been waiting, according to plan, to witness Riley's inevitable social blunder. But the scene that greeted them was far from what they had anticipated. Riley stood surrounded by influential businessmen, carrying herself as if she had always belonged in their world. Most disturbing of all was her intimate conversation with Diane Brown, which caused Anna's face to contort with barely concealed rage. "How dare she?" Anna whispered, her voice trembling with a mixture of shock and fury. She gripped her crystal champagne flute so tightly her knuckles turned white, unable to contain her jealousy and anger toward her sister. Austin approached a nearby group of businessmen, deliberately raising his voice above the gentle murmur of conversation. "Do you know who that woman is? She's so poor she couldn't even afford groceries at the market. She doesn't belong at tonight's party." Anna, following her husband's lead, sidled up to another group, a malicious smile playing on her perfectly painted lips. "She's recently lost her job as a cleaning lady. I'm too embarrassed to admit she's my sister." But their words fell flat in the elegant atmosphere, drawing no interest from the crowd. Some businessmen even shot them disapproving looks, clearly uncomfortable with such uncouth behavior. His anger reaching a boiling point, Austin suddenly raised his voice to address the entire room. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention?" His sharp voice cut through the refined conversation and soft music like a knife. Anna stood by her husband's side, a triumphant smirk distorting her carefully made-up face. "Riley Williams is an imposter. She has no company, no position, and no right to speak in our world. She's nothing but a penniless woman." Anna nodded in agreement with her husband's words, fixing her sister with an icy stare. "That's right. She can't even tell the difference between a business meeting and a shopping list. My sister has no place here." In that moment, the atmosphere in the ballroom turned glacial. Looks of shock and anger were directed not at Riley, but at Austin and Anna. Their cruel words had shattered the elegant Christmas atmosphere in an instant, revealing their own true colors to the assembled guests.
Austin's words hit me like a physical blow, leaving me momentarily stunned and breathless. Yet when I caught sight of Anna's triumphant smirk, something inside me shifted, and I found myself straightening my spine and lifting my chin with newfound dignity. In that moment, I made the decision to cast aside all my fears. I could feel the atmosphere in the room beginning to change. The looks directed at me were no longer merely curious, but filled with solidarity and even respect. The room began to stir, the situation unfolding in a way completely contrary to what Austin and Anna had intended. "This is absolutely unacceptable," the CEO of a tech company declared, his voice trembling with barely contained anger. "We are not here to belittle others, especially not a guest who has clearly shown she has much to contribute." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the ballroom. Then Diane Brown stepped forward to stand in front of me, her expression stern and her voice carrying undeniable authority. "This is not only unacceptable, it goes against everything we represent here tonight." The entire room fell silent at Diane's words. "Austin, Anna, your actions not only damage this group's reputation, but demonstrate a complete lack of character and respect for others." Austin tried to interject, but Diane raised her hand, silencing him. "No, I'm not finished." This Christmas party was meant to bring people together and discover new possibilities, not to humiliate anyone. Diane turned to me with a warm smile that seemed to chase away the chill of the previous moments. Riley, I sincerely apologize that you had to experience this. This behavior reflects the values of no one here except Austin and Anna. Finally, Diane declared with unwavering resolve, you both need to leave this venue immediately. Your presence is no longer welcome here. I felt tears welling up in my eyes, not from humiliation, but from the joy of being valued for who I was for the first time. The guests watched with mixed emotions as Austin and Anna stormed out of the hall, their faces contorted with rage. With their departure, a sense of relief swept through the room, and the warm Christmas atmosphere began to return. Diane placed a gentle hand on my shoulder and smiled at me. Riley, don't think of this as anything special. You are genuinely welcomed here as one of us. Her voice carried a warm certainty that touched my heart. And rest assured, appropriate actions will be taken regarding the Austin's behavior tonight. I was overcome with emotion, tears filling my eyes once again. Diane, everyone. Thank you so much. I never expected such a warm welcome, I managed to say, desperately trying to keep my voice steady. Diane nodded gently and looked at me with genuine interest. Would you tell us more about yourself? She asked. Taking a deep breath, I began to share my story. I told them about my struggles as a single mother, the job I'd lost, and my encounter with Austin at the market. After my ex-husband left us, my son and I have been fighting to survive. Just last week, I lost my cleaning job. The guests around me listened intently, their faces showing genuine concern. Some even had tears in their eyes as they heard my story. To maintain such grace after enduring so much. A middle-aged businessman remarked, clearly moved. At that moment, I saw a spark of determination light up in Diane's eyes. It was a moment of decision that would change my life forever. Riley, Diane spoke, drawing everyone's attention. I'm deeply moved by your strength and sincerity, she continued with quiet confidence. And I'd like to offer you a gift worthy of your courage. My heart began to race as I wondered what she meant. First, I want to give you a new car from Brown Auto as a Christmas present. But I have an even more important proposal. Diane looked directly into my eyes with unwavering certainty. Would you consider working for our company? With your abilities, you could grow significantly, even starting in sales. A small cheer went up from the crowd. I struggled to find words, fighting back the emotions that threatened to overwhelm me. Diane, thank you for this opportunity. I promise I won't let you down. Warm applause erupted around us. One by one, businessmen approached me, offering their business cards. Please don't hesitate to contact us if you need anything. Feel free to use our company's training programs. As the circle of support grew wider, I felt my heart swelling with new possibilities. As the party drew to a close, I approached Diane to say goodbye, my heart overflowing with sincere gratitude. You've changed my life tonight, I told her softly. I promise to make the most of this opportunity. I know you will, Diane replied with unwavering confidence that warmed my heart. On my way home, snow had begun to fall silently in the night. The Christmas lights through the taxi window seemed to sparkle more brightly than they had on my journey there. My heart was bursting with hope and joy I hadn't felt in years. Anna and Austin's scheme had, in an unexpected twist of fate, opened the door to a new life for me. When I opened our apartment door, Joseph was waiting under the soft glow of our small Christmas tree lights, his eyes shining with anticipation. Mom, how was it? His voice carried a mixture of excitement and concern that made my heart swell. I knelt down and pulled him into a tight embrace. It was more wonderful than I could have ever imagined, I whispered into his hair. Then I began to tell him everything about that magical evening, his aunt and uncle's plot, meeting Diane, and the incredible turn of events. This amazing woman named Diane offered me a job, sweetheart. And even a new car, I explained, watching his face brighten with each word. So our life is going to change? His eyes were filled with hope that brought tears to mine. Yes, darling. From now on, we'll face each day with smiles, I promised, holding him close and sharing my newfound certainty about our future. In that moment, holding my son in our tiny apartment, I felt richer than Anna had ever been. That Christmas Eve was unlike any other we'd ever shared. The entire day, Joseph could barely contain his excitement about our promised special celebration. In the morning, we decorated our small Christmas tree together, hanging the few ornaments we had collected over the years. Look, Mom, remember this one? Joseph held up a small paper angel he had made in kindergarten. Each decoration told a story, making our modest tree more precious than any expensive one. We spent the afternoon baking Christmas cookies, filling our tiny apartment with the warm scent of vanilla and cinnamon. Joseph proudly wore the chef's hat I had made from paper, taking his role as my assistant baker very seriously. These are even better than the fancy cookies at the bakery, he declared, sampling our work. As evening approached, we set up our little feast on the coffee table, hot chocolate with marshmallows, our freshly baked cookies, and the special dinner I had prepared. We sat on cushions on the floor, the twinkling lights from our tree casting a magical glow over everything. Instead of feeling sad about missing the grand party at the hotel, Joseph seemed completely content with our intimate celebration. This is the best Christmas Eve ever, Mom, he said, his face glowing with happiness. I pulled him close and kissed the top of his head, knowing that all the wealth in the world couldn't match the richness of this moment. Tomorrow starts our new life, I told him, but this moment, right here with you, is perfect exactly as it is. We fell asleep on the couch together, wrapped in a warm blanket, Christmas carols playing softly in the background. This was our kind of luxury, simple, warm, and filled with love. Several months passed, and our lives had transformed in ways I never could have imagined. Each morning, I drove to Brown Auto in the new car that Diane had given me, a daily reminder of how far we'd come. My colleagues welcomed me with open arms, quickly becoming more like family than coworkers. Diane watched over my progress like a guardian angel, constantly creating new opportunities for my growth. In the sales department, I built a strong track record, and gradually began my journey toward a management position. Riley, your talent continues to amaze me, Diane would say, her words building my confidence day by day. My sister Anna never appeared again, but that no longer mattered to me. I had found a new family, one built on mutual respect and genuine care. Most importantly, Joseph and I now had a future filled with promise and possibility. This was about so much more than career success. Our entire life had transformed into a story of hope and redemption. Looking back at that Christmas party, I realized how one moment of humiliation had become the catalyst for our salvation. Each morning as I watched Joseph board his school bus, his head held high and his smile bright, I knew we had finally found our place in the world. The wounds of the past were healing, replaced by the warmth of new beginnings and genuine acceptance. This wasn't just about climbing the corporate ladder, it was about finding our true worth and the people who could see it.
In the aftermath of that fateful Christmas party, Austin and Anna's lives took a dramatic downward spiral. The events of that evening sent shockwaves through the business community, causing important partners to distance themselves one by one. The severed relationship with Diane Brown proved particularly devastating to their future. Austin's company lost its major clients, leaving him drowning in debt and desperate to make payments. Anna was forced to give up their mansion in the affluent neighborhood, watching helplessly as her cherished social status crumbled around her. To think we've fallen lower than my sister. Anna would lament, while Austin, with what little assets remained, had no choice but to open a small market. In a twist of irony, he found himself in the very position he had once scorned Riley for occupying. Through daily commerce with ordinary people, Austin gradually learned the virtue of humility. His arrogant demeanor melted away, replaced by a growing compassion for his customers. Meanwhile, Riley and Joseph's life blossomed into a story of hope and redemption. Her position at Brown Auto provided far more than just a steady income. It became a source of confidence and self-realization, a chance to prove her worth. Diane's generous support, combined with the strength that had always lay dormant within Riley, transformed her life in ways she never imagined possible. Joseph watched his mother's transformation with unmistakable pride. Gone was her anxious expression, replaced by the confident bearing of a respected professional. She had become the role model he had always known she could be. That Christmas night had altered the course of 3 destinies. It became a powerful reminder of the value of humility in life and the importance of living with sincerity. The story served as a testament that true wealth lies not in social status or material possessions, but in the genuine connections we forge and the dignity with which we face life's challenges.
One winter evening, as we sat basking in the warm glow of our fireplace, Joseph suddenly looked up at me. "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be strong like you," he said, his words making my heart swell with emotion. Just a few months ago, we had lived each day shadowed by uncertainty. Now, my career at Brown Auto was flourishing, with Diane grooming me for a future management position. "You're already stronger than you know, Joseph," I told him, pulling him close. "Remember when you supported my decision to go to Aunt Anna and Uncle Austin's party?" Joseph nodded happily, his eyes bright with the memory. "We've overcome so many challenges together, and you've been my greatest source of strength through it all." Outside our window, snow fell silently in the darkness. I had recently spotted Austin at the market by chance. He was running a small grocery store now, his once proud demeanor notably subdued. I'd heard that Anna had been forced to give up their mansion in the upscale neighborhood and move to a modest house in the suburbs. "Hey, Mom," Joseph interrupted my thoughts. "Can we still go on that picnic with Aunt Diane this Sunday?" I smiled and nodded, my heart warming at how naturally he had started calling her Aunt. Diane had truly become like family to us. "Of course we can. Diane's looking forward to it too." Joseph's eyes sparkled with joy. "You're already stronger than most children your age," I said softly, running my fingers through his hair. "And you'll only grow stronger. I can see it clearly." "Yes," he exclaimed, throwing his arms around me in a tight embrace. "Together, we can overcome anything." I nodded deeply at his words, realizing how our past uncertainties had transformed into solid hope. The fears that had once haunted us had given way to something far more precious, absolute faith in each other and our future. One evening after work, as Diane and I sat in her office watching the sunset paint the city skyline in shades of gold, I finally asked the question that had been on my mind for months. "Diane, why did you reach out to help me that night at the Christmas party?" She turned to me with a gentle smile, her eyes reflecting years of wisdom. "You know, Riley, I saw something in you that reminded me of myself from years ago, that same determination to succeed despite the odds." She paused, collecting her thoughts. "When I started in this business, I was also a single mother struggling to make ends meet. Very few people gave me a chance." Her voice softened with memory. "But one person did believe in me, just as I believed in you. Sometimes all we need is that one person who sees our true worth." "But you risked your business relationship with Austin's company," I pointed out. Diane's expression grew firm. "No success is worth keeping if it means turning a blind eye to cruelty. Besides, I didn't just help you, I invested in someone I knew would help transform this company." She reached across her desk and squeezed my hand. "You've proven me right every single day since then." I felt tears welling up in my eyes, understanding now that sometimes the greatest acts of kindness come from those who have walked the same difficult path before us.
In the tranquil suburban neighborhood, Anna stood at her window, gazing out at a world that had dramatically shifted. Her new home, modest and humble, stood in stark contrast to the mansion she once proudly owned. Here, in this smaller space, she found herself reflecting on her life for the first time with genuine introspection. How ironic that I, who looked down on my sister, now stand below her," she whispered, a bitter smile playing across her lips. Yet in the midst of this profound loss, Anna was slowly transforming. She began to realize that neither her expensive trinkets nor her coveted social status had ever brought her true happiness. Across town, Austin's small grocery store had become more than just a business, it had evolved into a gathering place for the local community. His customers were no longer mere transactions but had become friends who shared their daily joys and struggles. "We've got some beautiful fresh vegetables today," he would say with a smile that held none of his former arrogance. Instead, his face now reflected a quiet contentment that spoke of deeper understanding. Anna, too, was discovering new values in her quieter suburban life. She found herself enjoying simple conversations over coffee with neighborhood women, finding connection in shared experiences. "You know, I've realized something lately," she would say during these gatherings. "True happiness might just be found in these ordinary moments." Her eyes held a warmth that had never been there during her society days. Each evening, as Austin closed his market, he would reflect on his journey. "This isn't an ending," he would remind himself. "It's a new beginning." His words carried the weight of profound wisdom gained through humbling experiences. He was beginning to understand how empty his past pursuit of material success had been. Though separated by distance, both Anna and Austin were discovering new meaning in their lives.
My life at Brown Auto brought me fulfillment beyond anything I could have imagined. Diane became so much more than a boss. She was my mentor and, most precious of all, a dear friend. "Riley, your growth is the pride of our company," she would tell me, her words never failing to give me courage. The other day, I ran into Anna at the supermarket. She seemed different somehow, softened by her simpler life in the suburbs. "Riley," she called out hesitantly, her voice lacking its former sharp edge. I wanted to apologize for that night. Her words stirred complex emotions within me. The rift between us as sisters had cast a long shadow over our lives, but now perhaps we were both seeing different horizons. I heard that Austin's grocery store had become beloved by the local community. Ironically, that night had transformed all of our lives. Yet this transformation wasn't a tragedy, far from it. Each morning, as I drove to Brown Auto in my new car, I found myself reflecting. Every day was making the future brighter for Joseph and me. Meeting Diane, the first signs of reconciliation with Anna, the fulfillment I found in my work, it had all begun on that Christmas party night. I heard that my story sometimes came up among my colleagues. "Riley's story gives us hope," they would say. But for me, the real victory lay elsewhere. It was in Joseph's proud smile, in the strength I had discovered within myself, and in the new bonds I had forged. These were the true measures of success, not in titles or status, but in the love and connections we build along the way. Sometimes life's greatest gifts come wrapped in our most challenging moments.
In their own unique ways, both found new beginnings, proving that even in our darkest moments, there is always room for growth, redemption, and hope. Their story reminds us that true transformation can come from unexpected places, and that the human spirit has a remarkable capacity for change. Thank you for joining us for this tale of family, forgiveness, and finding one's true worth. If you enjoyed this story of triumph over adversity, please show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Your encouragement keeps us motivated to bring you these inspiring stories almost daily. Don't forget to check out our other videos showing now on your screen. Until next time, when we'll share another journey of overcoming life's challenges together. Remember, as Riley's story shows us, sometimes our greatest setbacks can lead to our most beautiful beginnings.